Hi everyone, my name is Ella Prince and this is my Inclusion versus Exclusion project. Here's my table of contents, and first we're going to look at the student profile. So meet our student Jason. He is 10 years old and has a developmental disorder that affects his academic and personal life. So his diagnosis specifically is pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified, also known as PDD-NOS, which affects his abilities around social interactions, academics, emotional regulations. He is considered semi-functional and verbal. He has difficulty expressing himself to his peers and controlling his emotions when he is overwhelmed or confused, and becomes defensive and frustrated easily, especially when he has trouble with his academics. He spends much of his time alone after school because he lives with his single father in a low-income working class neighborhood. He attends this local public elementary school that offers both an inclusive and hybrid educational approach for students with disabilities. So Jason's abilities. So again, he difficulty focusing, he needs step-by-step directions, has a hard time with routine changes, difficulty controlling his emotions, uncomfortable making conversation and maintaining relationships with classmates, isolates himself often, and responds impulsively or emotionally to most of the time. But it's understand that he responds well to positive reinforcement and calm and constant redirection. Looking at his educational needs, his teachers have noticed he benefits from a structured learning environment and consistent expectations and guidance. So again, looking at his diagnosis, he has PDD and NOS. This is labeled as not used in school-based evaluations, but he does receive accommodations under IDEA for categories of autism or developmental delay, even though PDD NOS is not an IDEA disability category. So academic social needs, an individualized education plan would be appropriate for him, emotional and behavioral regulation support/therapy provided by school psychological services, positive reinforcement from teachers, avoiding unscheduled time in the class, using small group or individualized instructions, as well as a strong home school communication is all things that Jason needs. Looking at the educational setting, reminder, his school offers both an inclusive educational setting and a hybrid educational setting. However, for Jason, he would benefit from the hybrid educational setting, which will allow him to participate with the rest of his classmates in the classroom and school setting while receiving the targeted support through daily pull-in or pull-out services. Pull-in is when a specialist will come into the classroom and work with him, and pull-out is when Jason gets pulled away from the classroom for help. And this will allow him to benefit from peer interaction and help with his social skills while getting the inclusive learning environment experiences. So understanding the benefits of full inclusion. So if Jason were to be in a full inclusive, he would be able to regularly participate with his peers and help promote his social skills and communication. He'll make him feel more accepted and valued as part of his classroom community, and the inclusion will allow both Jason's general and special education teachers to kind of work together to understand his needs, strengths, and weaknesses, and allowing to adapt his curriculum to that. So the challenges, though, would be maintaining focus, because we know that he's easily distracted, and a classroom can be noisy with constant movement of students. Frustration and anger, we know when he doesn't understand something, he becomes frustrated or angry. And lack of support, a full inclusion environment may make that difficult due to lack of training from the teacher about having to manage an entire classroom while working with people with while working with students with disabilities. So the solutions to these, the maintaining focus would be frequent check-ins and monitoring and positive reinforcements and breaks during class. For the frustration and anger aspect, self-calming techniques would be helpful. And for the lack of support aspects is implementing those push-in services like I've mentioned before. So understanding the hybrid model offers the structure and schedule Jason needs, but also a type of flexibility that will allow him with his academics and social skills in a type of supportive environment. Again, my personal reflection, what I think is working in the education system is the individualized education program that makes sure each student with a disability is able to receive the support that is specialized to meet their specific learning needs and strengths. What I think still needs improvement is the 13 categories under IDEA. These categories are very important when it was first established. However, now they are too limited or too general to represent the range of disabilities that many students have today. And without these, students are often refused services without these updates because they are just too limited and too general. So how can we make them more inclusive educational system? Updating the IDEA's 13 categories, expanding them would allow schools to be able to accurately identify and accommodate students who need support, which in the end reduces misidentification and recognize more disabilities as eligible for services. And increasing funding, one of the big problems is not enough federal funding for schools to create these special education services, and the states and their school districts don't have the money to kind of help with that. So increasing the funding will allow schools to provide the needed resources and training to ensure that all types of students, regardless of their race, income, or disability, receive the services they need, while still allowing IDEA to be implemented effectively throughout the country and helping students with disabilities overall. These are my sources.